Hello, my name is Dr. Sam Hai. I am an internal medicine doctor. Thank you so much for watching. In this video, I will talk about the 7 most common cravings people experience when transitioning to a carnivore diet and how to effectively overcome them. These cravings include sugar, bread and carbs, crunchy, salty snacks, chocolate, cheese and dairy, late night snacking, and alcohol. I emphasize the importance of understanding these cravings as signals, not commands, and provide actionable strategies such as increasing fat intake and being mindful of triggers. I encourage you to have a plan in place to tackle these cravings because they will come, and remind you that they are temporary, often fading within weeks. Remember, your health is paramount. And with the right approach, you can successfully navigate this journey. So let's get started. 7 carnivore cravings explained and how to beat each one. Most people coming into carnivore will experience cravings. And when they do, how you react and what you do will determine how successful you will be on carnivore. Do you have a plan? Will you freak out or panic when these cravings come and start emotionally eating and relapsing? Unfortunately, a lot of people do. But if you understand these cravings ahead of time and have a plan, your chances for overcoming these cravings are that much better. And that's my goal with this presentation. You will understand the 7 most common carnivore cravings, what they are, and how to beat each one, because they will come. And these are the 7 carnivore cravings I will be talking about. Number 1, sugar, which is the most common. Number 2, bread and carbs. Number 3, crunchy, salty snacks. Number 4, chocolate. Number 5, cheese and dairy overload. Number 6, late night snacking. And number 7, alcohol. Okay, craving number 1. Craving number 1, sugar. The most common craving on carnivore. Why it happens. Years of dopamine conditioning from sugar. Blood sugar crashes, emotional associations. You're coming from a standard diet. You're eating a lot of processed foods. You're eating granola bars. You're eating yogurt that is filled with sugar or artificial sweeteners. You drink Coke. You drink Diet Coke. A lot of artificial sweeteners or sugar. Just about every food product out there has sugar or some form of artificial sweetener. And so this messes up your dopamine pathways. And you've been doing this for years and years. When you go carnivore, you're cutting out all sugar. Guess what? Your brain is not happy. That's why you get cravings. You're detoxing from sugar. Your dopamine pathways are not running like they used to. You're not getting that dopamine hit, that dopamine spike that you get from sugar. All of a sudden, you cut it off completely, and you're like a drug addict begging for that drug. And in this case, the drug is sugar. In fact, sugar acts like a drug. It is a drug, if we're being honest. So it's going to be very difficult. There's no getting around it. A lot of people starting carnivore usually succumb when the sugar cravings hit. And that's not surprising because detoxing from sugar is probably in a lot of ways like detoxing from caffeine, which I recently did. And believe me, it's so difficult. You have no idea how much control a substance has on you, and a substance like sugar, which is probably the most addictive substance on earth. Sugar and caffeine. Sugar has a very strong hold on many people. And because you get cravings, it can cause a lot of problems and lead to emotional eating and relapse back to sugar. How do you beat it? So, sugar cravings are going to come when you're carnivore, especially the first few days. It's definitely going to come. This is what you do: you eat more fat. Fat is the answer. Fat is flavor, fat is fuel, fat will cover up those cravings. It's the best sugar replacement. What's a good source of fat? There are a lot of good sources. How about a stick of butter? Try that. So let's just say you're on day 3, day 2 or 3 of carnivore, and you haven't eaten any carbs, any sugar, and you get a sugar craving in the middle of the night. Let's not say middle of the night. Let's say you get a sugar craving in the evening. What do? Well, first, you're aware that this could set you back. So you reach in the fridge for some butter. And don't just eat a tablespoon, maybe a stick of butter. Eat as much as you want, but eat until that craving goes away. Try that. It has helped a lot of people overcome sugar cravings on carnivore. Also, add salt to meals to reduce sweet cravings. That actually works in a weird way. But the thing is, a lot of people starting carnivore don't add enough salt, and this can lead to sweet cravings. So be mindful of that and make sure that you are adding enough salt to your food. Salt to taste, add it generously. And this will decrease sugar cravings. Recognize that sugar withdrawal is temporary, usually fades in 3 to 7 days. Does this mean that you will never have a craving for sugar again after 7 days? No. They'll come back every now and then. Most people report that cravings come back after a month or 2, and sometimes even further down the road. But you have the secret weapon. You eat more fat. You have that stick of butter in the refrigerator. You might want to pre-cook some bacon. That's a good source of fat. When you get that sugar craving, you reach for that bacon or the butter, and this will go a long way. All right, let's talk about the next craving. And this is a big one as well. Bread and carbs. Sugar is a carb, but here I'm talking in general, bread and carbs, like grains. Okay, so going carnivore, you're cutting out all carbs. No bread, no pasta, no rice, no quinoa. Insert whatever grain you usually eat. You're eating no carbs at all. So so you're detoxing from that, and you're gonna get cravings because these grains are very addictive, and your brain doesn't like it because you're cutting it off completely. And in a sense, you can say that bread and carbs are acting as a drug as well. See, gluten stimulates opioid receptors in the brain. What are opioid receptors? Those are the receptors that heroin, morphine, fentanyl, Percocet, all these different opioid drugs and medications, they attach to opioid receptors in the brain. And so does gluten. Isn't that crazy? So, of course, you're going to get cravings for bread and carbs. Carbs for comfort and convenience. For me, rice has been my comfort food since I was born. That's what I grew up eating 3 times a day and many, many bowls of rice every day. And that's my comfort food. And when I did carnivore, I had cravings for rice because I ate it my entire life. And all of a sudden, I'm removing that from the equation. How do you think my body's going to react? It's going to rebel. It's saying, what the heck are you doing? I'm trying to get healthy, so I got rid of the rice. And you have to get rid of whatever it is that is holding you back. Is it the bread? Is it the pasta? You have to remove it from the equation. How to beat it? You replace it with meat-based comfort foods like burger patties or cheesy carnivore snacks. That's if you tolerate cheese. That's if you tolerate dairy. So, burger patties is a good comfort food that I like to go to. When I craved rice, I would just go in the freezer and I had beef burger patties that were frozen. Throw it in the air fryer. Threw about two or three in there, and that got rid of my rice cravings. So that's what you do. You just replace it with meat-based comfort food. Maybe for you, it's a cheese ball wrapped up in bacon, if you can tolerate cheese. Whatever it is for you, make sure you have it on hand so that you can deal with it when the cravings for bread and carbs come up. Stay full. Cravings spike when you undereat. And like I said, most beginners make this mistake: undereating, eating too lean, not enough fat, not eating till satiety, eating a little bit and thinking they're full, but really they're not full. Okay. So cravings will spike if you undereat. And when you undereat, that's a stress on your body. And that's going to lead to cravings. Your body thinks it's not eating enough, it's in famine, it's in stress mode. Cortisol will be released. That leads to cravings, and you're going to relapse. Reach for bread, reach for pasta, but don't do that. Avoid watching food content that triggers you. This is a mistake that I made. I was scrolling through social media. This was after 3 months on carnivore. This was my first slip after being on carnivore. I was scrolling through social media, and there were pictures, Instagram reels of all this great food that I loved eating in the past. And that started a downward spiral that led to a 3-day binge, but something that I will never repeat again. You can avoid it. Just don't be scrolling like I did. Avoid food content because it will trigger you. Okay, craving number 3: crunchy, salty snacks like chips, popcorn. This was something I dealt with too. And as you can tell, I've dealt with the first, second, and third so far. And I imagine you will probably deal with it too if you are just starting. That's if you like crunchy, salty snacks like I did. I I bragged how I could polish off a bag of Doritos, the family size bag, in one sitting. And I've done that many times throughout my life. And that's why I had these cravings: crunchy, salty snacks, because they're addictive. Remember, these foods like Doritos, they were birthed in a lab with scientists, nutrition scientists, who know how to make food addictive. They know how to make the food come at what they call a bliss point, with the salt, fat, and sweet content of that food at an addictive high so that you keep reaching for that food over and over again. You know that Lay's commercial where they said you can't eat just one chip, right? It's because of science. They designed it that way. And so when you cut all this out on carnivore, your brain is going to start hating you and crave these snacks and these crunchy, salty snacks. So it's addictive mouthful, habit based eating, TV, stress, boredom, right? We do this on such a routine. Whenever we're watching TV, we'll watch TV with a bag of chips or a box of cookies, whatever it is that you like eating. Or whenever we're stressed, we'll reach for a bowl of ice cream. Or if we're bored, we'll just start popping snacks in our mouths because that's just a habit. And it's probably a habit because of all the commercials and propaganda that has been run by the big food industries. So how do you beat it? Eat crunchy meat-based snacks like pork rinds or chicken skins. This is a very good way to beat that craving. Um, I ate quite a bit of pork rinds in the beginning. I don't eat much at all anymore, but pork rinds really helped me deal with my cravings for crunchy and salty snacks. Because in essence, that's what you're doing when you're eating pork rinds. You're eating a crunchy, salty snack. But be careful. Most pork rinds sold are fried in seed oils. Make sure you get the pork rinds that are fried in animal fats. And they are out there. It's just that you need to be careful and read the labels. Replace the habit. Okay, so chew ice, sip sparkling water, or do 5 push-ups. Do some activity that gets your mind off this craving. Maybe chewing ice will help. Maybe doing 5 push-ups. Maybe take a 15-minute walk. Identify the trigger moment, and reroute your response. So the key always is awareness. When you're aware of it and you identify it, what I would do is track it, maybe on your phone or you have a notebook around, track it, and then you reroute your response. And then next time, you know what triggered it, and you can prevent it, or you can deal with it properly. Okay, craving number 4, chocolate. A lot of people have this craving. Me, not so much. I love chocolate, but I wasn't that big of a chocolate eater. But this will happen for those of you who love eating chocolate before going carnivore. Why? Why it happens? Well, chocolate has a lot of sugar. And we talked about it in the first slide, the first craving, the most common craving is sugar. Chocolate has that. It also has caffeine, which is, as I said, sugar and caffeine are probably the two most addictive substances on the planet today. Plus chocolate also has some magnesium. And this means it's highly addictive. Here's the thing, because it has magnesium, how do you beat it? You're not eating chocolate anymore, so maybe you're missing the magnesium. So maybe the magnesium is driving your cravings. So what do? Make sure you get plenty of magnesium. You can get that from mineral water. Redmond salt has a little bit. Or you can take a magnesium supplement like magnesium glycinate. That will help. Eat fat bombs made of beef tallow or butter, right? Just as we talked about in craving number 1, sugar. You eat more fat, maybe a stick of butter. That really helps with sugar cravings. And chocolate has sugar. You can use dark chocolate, 85% or higher content. This is very, let's say bitter. If you've ever had 100% dark chocolate, it's kind of bitter. As a step down tool if necessary. If you really need it because you were such a chocolate addict before you came on carnivore. This is something you can use and then eventually stop using it, right? So that is chocolate. Let's move on to craving number 5, cheese and dairy overload. Everybody loves cheese, but not everybody is able to tolerate it. Not everybody is able to tolerate dairy. So you have to be very careful. And why it happens. Why do we get cheese or dairy cravings? Well, dairy, you get a dopamine boost, plus salt, plus fat, right? It's hyper palatable when you get all three. When you get all three things here, dopamine boost plus salt and fat, that's hyper palatable. And cheese mimics this addictive behavior. Cheese has a protein called casein, makes up about 30% of the proteins in cheese, or in dairy. I'm sorry, dairy has casein. And casein eventually breaks down into a compound called casomorphin, or casomorphine. And guess what that binds to? Opioid receptors in the brain. It's highly addictive. That's why you could take out a 5-pound block of cheese in 5 minutes. You're eating it, but you keep on going for it. until that 5 pounds is gone. It's easy to polish off a 5 pound block of cheese. It's very addictive. How do you beat it? Well, try cutting cheese for 7 days to reset. So no cheese for 7 days. Okay? Use raw or A2 dairy if tolerated. Raw is hard to find, but if you're able to get that, you can use raw dairy, raw milk, raw dairy, or A2 dairy. What's A2 dairy? A2 refers to the casein protein in milk and dairy. There's A1 and there's A2. Most conventional milk are A1 dairy. They have the A1 beta casein protein versus the A2 casein protein, which is less common. So A2 is found more in animals like goats, sheep, camels. You can find A2 in cows too, but it's not as common. You really have to look for it. But the A2 dairy is more tolerated. It's less inflammatory. And so if you're able to get A2, try that. That might help you with cheese and dairy overload. Prioritize meat first. Treat cheese as a condiment. Okay. Let's go over cravings. Craving number 6, late night snacking. This is something that I would used to do quite often because who doesn't like to snack late at night? Why does it happen? It's a habit loop. I've done it for so many years, so many weekends, and so many times. It's just a habit. It's just a part of living, right? Fatigue, emotional hunger, or cortisol imbalance. These will also lead to late night snacking. How to beat it? Eat more during the day, especially fat. When you eat fat, everything just works a lot better. When you eat fat, your hunger hormones eventually reset. And I've talked about it, usually resetting about 3 to 6 months after you do carnivore. Ghrelin and leptin, they stabilize, they normalize, and they will be released at optimal times so that you don't have these crazy cravings and get hungry for something like a late night snack, right? Eat more during the day, especially fat. Turn off blue light and screens by 8 to 9. Why? Because blue light will raise your cortisol levels. And when you get a cortisol spike, that's going to tell your body, uh-oh, something stressful is happening. What am I going to do? Reach for some snacks late at night to deal with that stress. So no screens, at least an hour before you go to sleep. Add salt to water in the evening to lower cortisol and kill cravings. So salt will support the adrenal glands, and the adrenal glands release cortisol. Add salt. So add salt to water, and that will help with cortisol, and that will help you deal with cravings. Okay. Craving number 7, alcohol. So why does this happen? Again, habit. You drink alcohol on the weekends, or maybe you drink it more than just on the weekends. You use alcohol for stress coping. Maybe it's social pressure. And you get cravings for alcohol when you go carnivore, right? Because you're not drinking alcohol anymore. I know that there are some carnivores who still drink alcohol, fully believing that they're still doing carnivore properly and correctly and still able to drink alcohol. But don't fool yourself. Alcohol is a liver toxin. Not only does it mess up your metabolism, which carnivore is designed to optimize and make it functional again, but it's a liver toxin. You'll get fatty liver, just as if you were eating fruit. Fruit will give you fatty liver if you eat enough fruit, and so will alcohol. Back in the days, the number one cause of fatty liver and eventually Liver failure was alcohol. Alcohol causes fatty liver, and the liver eventually fails. Nowadays, it's a different story. What's the cause of liver failure? It's non alcoholic fatty liver disease, meaning a fatty liver not from alcohol, non alcohol. And guess what? Fruit contributes to it. Fructose, all the fruit, high, all the high fructose corn syrup that's being eaten in all these food products are also contributing to it. How to beat it? Drink sparkling water. So this is your new beer. This is your new wine. This is your new whiskey. Sparkling water. Eat plenty of fat. It helps stabilize mood and dopamine. And I did a raw talk not too long ago about how carnivore helps deal with all sorts of addictions, including alcohol. Go check that one out. I think that will help you if you still have a problem with alcohol. Practice saying no. Plan ahead for social events. If you're going to go visit some friends and you know alcohol is going to be there, plan for it. You know what's going to happen. They're going to offer you alcohol. Stand your ground, say no, and be done with it. All right. We got one more slide and we will be done. So in closing, this is the truth. This is the truth here. Cravings are signals, not commands. They're often just habits, deficiencies, or emotions disguised as hunger. That's what they are. They're trying to trick you into relapsing, into giving up, into going back to your old ways of eating, into going back to your old life, your old unhealthy self. But just understand that it's just a signal and you don't have to listen to it because it's not a command. You have the power. You're on carnivore now. You're going to become a new person. This is what carnivore does to you. And now that you know the 7 common cravings that you will experience on carnivore and you know how to deal with them, you have nothing to worry about. So just refer back to this presentation if you need a refresher. But keep in mind, this is your health you're talking about. And health is the first wealth. Without health, there's no hope. Without health, who cares about wealth? Enough of my preaching. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to follow me on Instagram for more content, my username is Sam_HighMD. Once again, thank you so much, guys. I love you so much, and I will see you in the next video.